Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Harris has come under criticism, not just from Trump supporters, but also journalists, even supporters who worried that delaying this only raised the stakes for her. It's something we'll talk about tonight before the interview airs, and no doubt we'll get plenty of attention afterwards.
So the reviews are starting to pour in from last night's CNN interview that they did with Kamala Harris, and I was very interested to see what the other side was saying about it, right? Because obviously, we the conservatives, the Trump supporters, are going to say it was bad no matter what, but the real indication is if the other side is saying it was either bad or it just wasn't really that good, then in that case, it really was objectively bad. And I was a little bit surprised, but maybe not so much, because Kamala Harris really did just not do that great a job at some of the reactions of CNN. So folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and take a listen to how CNN reacted to last night's interview.
Now, you might not like the way she answered him, but she answered him as a capable, qualified leader. And I do think she moved the ball forward a little bit. You know, maybe she didn't score a touchdown.
So she didn't necessarily score a touchdown, but she moved the ball forward a little bit. By the way, if you're not familiar, this girl, Ashley Allison, is one of the big-time Democrat contributors at CNN, right? So she's always praising Kamala Harris. She's always defending her. And so you really can look at that and know, okay, this is one of the most pro-Democrat guests, and she won't even say it was a touchdown or a home run or whatever, which is exactly the answer you would expect. She kind of just says, well, you may not like the way she answered the questions, but at least she answered them. And yeah, it wasn't really a touchdown, but at least she moved the ball a little bit. What does that mean? What is that a quiet admission of when you understand who was saying it? It was not a good interview, right? It was not a good performance by Kamala Harris, but she is far from the only CNN guest who admitted this in reaction to the interview yesterday. Take a listen to more.
It wasn't a huge, I don't think she moved the ball that much forward. I don't think there's a policy separation that they've created with Biden. Obviously, she gave a kind of personal defense of him.
Now, you might not like the way she answered him, but she answered him as a capable, qualified leader. And I do think she moved the ball forward a little bit. You know, maybe she didn't score a touchdown.
I think the two biggest issues coming out of Biden for her are the economic policies, which she clearly wants to embrace, but also the immigration policies. Dana asked her if she had anything to say about what they did for 3.5 years leading up until the back and forth this year. Completely sidestepped it, did not answer it. She goes back to her time as Attorney General. But again, absolutely nothing, no responsibility, no reflection at all on the day one executive actions or anything else they did for 3.5 years, or anything she said in her previous campaign, which was to have the most permissive immigration structure. She's trying to skip a block of time at the debate. Trump cannot allow it.
Folks, we'll get into more of this in a second, but before we continue this video, I gotta tell you about today's sponsors over at Goldco. Why? Because protecting your savings in a time like this is crucial, and that's exactly why Goldco can help you protect and diversify your retirement with gold and silver IRAs, which, like most of history, have served as a shield from inflation and dollar devaluation. Goldco makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA, tax and penalty free. The process is quick and painless, and they also offer the direct purchase of gold and silver. So if you open an account right now, you can get up to $10,000 in free silver. And like I said, diversify your retirement, diversify your savings, and protect your future in these unstable economic times. So go right now to vincegold.com to learn more. Again, that is vincegold.com. Okay, so you can obviously see the reaction here, right? Total damage control. I mean, some of the more Democrat favorable guests are just saying, well, it was good. It wasn't that great. Well, you know what that means. But even one of the guys here brought up, I thought, a very important point. She did not create a strong policy separation from Joe Biden. It was a lot of defending Biden. Oh, Bidenomics is good and all of that. It again just harkens back to the central point here, which is that the entire thing was largely unimpressive. Now, with that said, this is a point I made last night, which is if she just did this interview on the first week where she was the candidate, or she did regular TV interviews, then people would gloss this aside. Like, it's not a big deal. Okay, mid-interview, whatever, we'll move on to the next one. But the issue specifically is that she waited 40 days, refused to do any interviews. People kept talking about it. Why won't Kamala Harris sit down with the press? And so what she ultimately did is built up so much hype. There are so many eyeballs on this interview. And then when she flopped, then when she was unimpressive, uninspiring, the interview even visually was just not that good, then this is the inevitable result of that. And that's even something also that CNN pointed out yesterday. It's not only the point I have been making. Take a listen to them saying it out loud.
Next question, please. That's it? That's it.
Harris has come under criticism, not just from Trump supporters, but also journalists, even supporters who worried that delaying this only raised the stakes for her. It's something we'll talk about tonight before the interview airs, and no doubt we'll get plenty of attention afterwards. In any event, this is how she and her campaign wanted to do it. It comes with the first batch of post-convention polling now out. This one from Quinnipiac, showing her at 49% among likely voters and Donald Trump at 47%. That's a national poll within the poll's margin of error, meaning no clear leader. New polling from the Wall Street Journal shows the same nationally, a slight Harris lead, but within the margin of error. As for the former president, he's appearing at a town hall tonight in Wisconsin. Earlier today in Michigan, he had this to say about his opponent.
I saw her make a speech. It was so bad. And after they get off, this was one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in our country. With me, I make a speech. I speak for 2 hours. Everybody loves it. I got thousands of people, by the way, outside trying to get in. They never said Trump's a great speaker. I don't even want that. But I must be a great speaker, right? I must. We got thousands of people.
A lot ahead as we roll into tonight's exclusive interview with Vice President Harris and Tim Walz. First, the one asking the question, CNN chief political correspondent Dana Bash. Dana, I'm very curious to see how this went. One of the major points of criticism against the vice president is how she has changed some of her past policy positions. What did she have to say?
Well, Anderson, I asked her about some of those key policy positions, those that really matter to voters, not just here in Georgia, but particularly voters in the must-win state for her of Pennsylvania, issues like fracking, the Green New Deal, and also her changes on immigration. She explained some of those changes, but even more broadly, I wanted to know what she thought voters should take from her evolution.
Well, first of all, Dana Bash, you did ask her some important questions, but the problem is that you didn't really follow up on them, and I think that's for an obvious reason. It would have been a total disaster, right? It would have been an F- if you truly grilled Kamala Harris. But that point Anderson Cooper made there is completely true. When you wait 40 days to do this interview, you are raising the stakes massively. And so if you don't do well, it's like playing in the championship game, right? If you don't do well, you really do flop. And I also just don't understand the logic there. I really don't, because I get on one hand why they thought it was smart to hide Kamala Harris from the cameras, right? She's not great. And of course, you saw the first month how she was doing. They didn't want to impede her hype train. So that certainly makes sense on one hand. But on the other hand, we also know, we can tell this from the history of her political career, she is not exactly someone who does that great under pressure, okay? Look back to 2020. And so you're going to put all this pressure on her for this interview, and then she's just not that impressive. She's just not that great. What are you thinking here? Again, I have absolutely no idea. But lastly here, I want to play how CNN actually fact-checked Kamala Harris for her egregious lies about fracking, where she essentially was like, no, I never actually wanted to ban fracking. So even they are kind of tearing her apart again.
The fact-check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. So let me take you through this kind of saga. So here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019 on the subject of a fracking ban.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
It's brutal, folks. It's just absolutely brutal. And thank you, CNN, for once actually doing a valid fact check. Okay, a real fact check, not a petty or stupid one. But there you have it. Again, a lot of these left-leaning outlets even struggling to defend this interview. Now, MSNBC, on the other hand, tried to do a focus group reacting to that CNN interview. And specifically, they did a focus group, as you can see here, full of mixed race voters, okay? Right? The entire focus group is all people of mixed race, which is, you see what they're trying to do there, right? They're basically trying to say, oh, Donald Trump made fun of Kamala Harris's identity, so we're gonna put these mixed race voters on who are gonna tear into him and all that. But even they did not necessarily get some of the reactions they were expecting. Take a listen.
Don't think that Kamala Harris has anything vested in the air finger quote black or Hispanic experience in so much as it would be identified by anybody that lives in those communities.
You're saying you don't think that she can help black or brown people?
No, I mean, going to Howard don't make you black.
You feel some kinship towards her as a mixed person?
Not personally. I find a lot of her trajectory to not be my brand of woman or leader. We've got 3 major international crises going on and someone applying to be commander-in-chief. As a woman, I want to see you do more than, appeal to giggling and having a girl moment on the stage.
It's just brutal. And with that said, I think we can reasonably conclude, yes, Kamala Harris's CNN interview was a failure. I thought that from the beginning, but when I also hear the other side kind of saying it, sort of saying it, then I think we know exactly how we feel. And I think there's a big reason why Kamala Harris is starting to dip in the polls, which is now that the honeymoon is over, now that the response bias is starting to fade out, people are being confronted with the reality of who she is, what she stands for, and even a lot of the media propaganda is struggling at times to cover for her. So that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video and check out our friends over at vincegold.com. And until next time, God bless and peace.